Persistent worlds. Persistent worlds may offer story-like quests, but they always return to the world eventually. The setting of a persistent world consists of the environment itself and the overall conditions of life there. The goal is a quest or errand that the player undertakes as an individual or with others. The player doesn't follow a single storyline, so they can choose from a larger variety of things to do and has more opportunities to define their own role. The player's objective is to advance their character. The player decides for themselves what they want to do. Gameplay is expressive and active rather than reactive. In 1997, MUD developer Richard Bartle wrote a seminal article called Hearts, Clubs, Diamonds, Spades, Players Who Suit MUDs. He proposed that MUD players fall into four categories: those who enjoy acting on other players he dubbed killers, or clubs; those who enjoy interacting with other players he called socializers, or hearts; those who enjoy acting on the world he described as achievers, or diamonds; those who enjoy interacting with the world he referred to as explorers, or spades. His grouping of player types proved to be useful not only in the design of MUDs, but in graphical persistent worlds as well. The first thing a player does when joining a persistent world is to create an avatar, or character who represents them in the game, one of the most expressive things a player can do. Players like to maintain a profile listing some of their intangible attributes in order to identify and describe their avatars to other players. Profiles can include such things as unique name, physical appearance, experience, reputation, and player autobiography. Raf Koster identified 5 classic world models. Scavenger model: players collect things and return them to places of safety. Social model: the fun comes from role-playing in character, most goals represent social achievement. Dungeons and Dragons model: the player is in conflict with the environment, fighting NPCs for advancement and some scavenging along the way. Player versus player model: players advance by defeating one another at contests, often characterized as combat. Builder model: enables players to construct things and actually modify the world in which they play. In the most extreme case, the avatar dies and cannot be resurrected. This makes sense in games of short duration, but seldom in persistent worlds. Designers commonly penalize the player for letting the avatar die by bringing the avatar back to life with reduced functional attributes. Players find this irritating, but the penalty makes a certain amount of sense. Another classic disincentive for dying involves loss of money, gear, clothes, and other items in the avatar's inventory at the time. A vault is a feature that can keep items that they're not carrying with them, and these items can remain safely in the vault for use by their resurrected avatar. A number of persistent worlds allow players to belong to factions. The rules enable players to attack members of enemy factions but not members of their own faction. In effect, it's team play. In a game that allows player killing, a certain number of players will inevitably abuse the system, exploiting their superior strength to victimize weaker ones without ever putting themselves at risk. In an online game, time is irreversible. Even if you had a convenient way to reverse time, you can't reasonably ask all your players to agree to reverse time to an earlier point. In the ordinary course of events, when an event occurs in an online game, it's done and can't be undone. If the players in a persistent world can collect and trade things of value, then the world includes an economy. Economies are much easier to design and tune in a single-player game than they are in a persistent world. Players shouldn't be able to return a resource to the system for more than they paid for it in the first place. Otherwise, they'll find a way to automate this process and generate an unlimited stream of that resource. Summary: multiplayer games are harder to design than single-player ones, online games are harder still, and persistent worlds are the hardest of all. The flexibility and power of online gaming enables you to create entertainment experiences that you simply can't produce in other forms. The material used for this lesson was taken from Chapter 21 of the book Fundamentals of Game Design, 2nd edition, by Ernest Adams. Thanks for listening.